An ecosystem is a habitat that certain animals have evolved to live in. They have created their families there, where they have learned to survive in the certain conditions. The subject of this video is based on the desert and the animals and plants that have adapted to the hot weather during the day and the cold change at night and the low level of water. The animals and plants teach themselves to survive on very small amounts of water. A desert is a sand-filled ecosystem where plants and animals that rely on very small water live. The desert is extremely hot during the day, and at night the desert becomes very cold and goes into the negatives. Now, this food web demonstrates how the primary consumers, which are the herbivores, eat the desert plants, which are the producers. The primary consumers are eaten by omnivores and smaller carnivores, which are the secondary consumers. The secondary consumers eat the primary consumers, but larger secondary consumers will eat other secondary consumers. One of the predator-prey relationships is snakes and hawks. The snake will be taken away sometimes, but the snake will sometimes bite the hawk and the venom will later kill the hawk, leaving its remains for the snake to feast on. The carbon cycle for the desert is a non-stop process. The desert plants are always absorbing the carbon along with sunlight and water, causing photosynthesis. Photosynthesis creates food, oxygen, and carbon-rich compounds that enrich the soil in the ground. So when the plants die, it breaks down, releases carbon elements into the soil, and gives it nutrients. Decomposed plants and animals produce the fossil fuels. Carbon dioxide is released back into the atmosphere when fossil fuels are burned. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere goes down into the CO2 used in the process of photosynthesis. The carbon dioxide cycle is helping the photosynthesis, so when the plants do decompose, it enriches the soil with nutrients. For the carbon cycle in the desert, it's hard to go along, considering there aren't very many plants and not very many animals. What comes from the dead plants and animals are fossil fuels, and that's also enriching carbon, and that's what goes up into the sky and causes CO2. The heat causes liquid and the frozen water at night to evaporate into the sky and causes water vapor gases. That forms into clouds, then the clouds travel around the globe and cause it to rain and snow in different parts. This is a large part of the water cycle, obviously. Because there is no water to evaporate, no water rises to form clouds. If you go to a desert, it is very rare to find a cloud. Therefore, there is no rain, no snow, or any other kind of precipitation in the desert. The desert doesn't really have any external changes due to the ecosystem it is, because the desert doesn't have many plants there, so there can't be any fires. And due to it being so far inland, it never gets water, so it's a non-water-based ecosystem, really. But human impact does happen in the desert, because the deserts are filled with lots of oil wells, and humans drill into the oil wells so they can get money for the oil. The oil pollutes the air and harms the animals that live near the oil wells. The oil sometimes spills out and ends up destroying animals' areas and where they live. Yeah, I got all my information from these websites, so I'll put them down in the description. So yeah, just check them out.